when somebody comes to you and says, we want you to be a part of something called the Vampire's Assistant, I mean, like, what was the initial, like, reaction? Like, all right, or was it?
Well, I was interested in doing. I have kids, first of all, and having done Talladega Nights and Step Brothers and some of the comedies recently, a lot of the people who were interested in seeing me in movies were younger people. So I was looking at that. I was like, I would love. I was watching some of the Harry Potter movies with my kids, and I thought that would be great to do one of these things, And all of a sudden, this thing fell in my lap. Paul Weitz offered me this part. And while I wasn't familiar with the books, once I read the script, I thought this would be a really interesting character to play. And I hadn't done a movie like this, so why not? That's been if I have a career plan, it's to keep doing different things,
There is, actually, a career plan for an actor a lot of times is stuff that they're scared of. So I'm just wondering, at what point were you a little bit freaked out at what the kind of the stuff that
well,
they asked
yeah,
you to do?
I mean, yeah, it's to go from, playing an oversized kid in Step Brothers to playing this 220-year-old, very arch, dark, sort of Victorian era vampire was a big change, and I was intimidated by it. But Paul really believed in me, and eventually I really did find my way into it and stopped being afraid and just started playing the character.
The acting in this is kind of, for me, a lot of fun to watch because there's a lot of actors doing these, and what was your tone? Like, how do you like play it without it being like camp or something kind of?
That was I relied on Paul Weitz, the director, a lot for that. Actually, because in the books, the way that the character speaks, he almost never even speaks with contractions. I cannot, I do not, and so I try to have that kind of tone, but to be so locked into that exact way of speaking made it hard to be natural too. So it's one thing to be able to read it in a book and feel like someone could talk like that, but then it's actually to try to talk like that was challenging at times. But yeah, I mean, you really, in terms of it being camp, like, you really put yourselves in the hands of the director. Like, you have to just hope that they're going to make a really complete world that seems like a real place and not just a bunch of people dressed up in costumes. And I think Paul did a great job with that, creating the fantasy of this world.
To get so many other actors on board, it must have been really interesting was there a cast read? I mean, there's so many Willem Dafoe's in this and some, I mean, these are people that normally would not be associated with films like this, so to kind of get them on, it must have been...
Well, Willem and Paul had worked together before, and Willem had done a vampire movie before, so he was, I guess, prone to do it. Yeah, I don't know exactly how it all came together. I was one of the first people cast, and then they found the two boys, and then Paul just searched far and wide, and everyone who was up for the freak show came along.
Did you ever go home with the costume to, like, I don't know, hang out with your kids, or did you want to scare them at any point, or were they excited that you?
No, they're pretty easily scared. So yeah, I didn't do that. But when I was living in New Orleans making the movie, my family was not there most of the time. I definitely felt like I was wearing a lot of black and riding my bike around at night, and the French Quarter can seem like a pretty haunted place. So I definitely got into the character off camera too.
Last question then, why do you think people are so fascinated with vampires at this point? I mean, I'm sure everybody's asking you this, but...
It's just one of these age-old things. We're afraid of dying, but we're also afraid of living forever somehow. We're afraid of the dark. We're very protective of our blood, and we're very freaked out at the sight of spilling blood or losing blood. I think it's just a basic kind of almost like caveman instinct. Protect the blood, There's nothing scarier to us than someone who will take our blood.